Hello everybody. I wanted to talk to you again today about my tool pouch that I carry. I've made a few more modifications to it and wanted to show those to you guys. I'll start with the back. In this area I used to carry the Uncle Bill's sliver grippers. I removed those from the little Velcro pouch that used to hold them, and using the keychain holder that they come with, I mounted it to the inside of the buckle, screwed it down, and that's now where I carry the sliver grippers. They're secure and they're stowed out of the way. I do have to take it off my belt to get to them, but that's the only downside to that system. I use a 1.5 inch belt, so it rides in here completely out of the way, and tweezers also are completely out of the way. That's a piece of bicycle inner tube that I included with the mounting screws. That just helps hold it tighter against my belt so it doesn't slide around. In the space where the tweezers used to ride, I made myself a Kydex holster for this Red Devil scraper tool, razor scraper. These are cheap and available at almost any hardware store, but super convenient. Pop the little clip, the little release button, and razor scraper. Nothing works as well as a razor scraper when you need to do some razor scraping, but that rides in there. Small, almost no weight to it. There, locks in, keeps the blade safe out of the way. So that rides there now. Moving around to the front, alongside the electrician scissors that I carry, I've added a pair of forceps, or hemostats, however you want to call them. These basically replace the need for needle nose pliers. These offer more reach. You can hold on to really tiny things, reach in and get something out, reach in to put something in place. I don't have the first aid knowledge to even begin to use these in the first aid aspect that they were designed for, but as just an everyday use tool, these are extremely convenient. And since I can carry them with no problem at all, I've included them in my kit now. Only downside to where I carry these is I do have to remove both of them to access the Nipex plier wrenches. Normally I can just set those to the side. If I am in a situation where I can't set those down or don't want to, I install one of these snap hooks. It's sewn into the sheath there, rides out of the way when I don't need it, but even on my belt I can reach down with no problem. And I say no problem, and then it looks like a problem. I can carry those there just for the moment while I'm using the wrenches. You probably have experienced anytime you set a tool down, there's a good chance you'll walk off and forget you had it. This is actually much easier to do when it's on my belt. Not something I'm going to use very often, but it was easy enough to include, so I like having options. I could always hook an extra set of keys or anything else that I might just happen to have at the moment. I can also snap into that, but normally it rides there out of the way. The last edition, I had a gap in between the Kydex lighter holster and the base of the regular sheath, and to fill that I came up with this. I carry my used to carry my Victorinox nail clippers on my keychain because I didn't really have a better way. Just loose in my pocket just drives me nuts. So this would ride on my keychain. It's a homemade bottle opener. I cut that out of a Camillus folding knife, pocket knife. So I cut that out and ground it down. But those used to ride on my keychain, and I get rid of my keys as soon as I can, and so I did not always have the nail clippers with me. Now with this system, I've got a pair of neodymium magnets that I mounted into the Kydex, and that can now ride in there. It holds well enough on its own that it probably would always be there when I wanted it, but I like things to be a little more secure than that, so I secured this strap to the base of the Kydex back there, and now that flap comes around, snaps, everything's super secure. Easy enough when I'm wearing it to reach down, extract them, put them back when I don't need it. Since I had that strap, I realized it was easy enough to go ahead and make myself a small Kydex sheath to hold spare razor for the scraper and a spare blade for the Gerber utility knife, the EAB exchanger blade that I carry inside there. The ability to swap blades out is what makes them so useful, but if you don't have a spare blade with you, you lose some of that functionality. So this little Kydex holster makes sure I always have a spare blade with me. You see some grease on there. I just put a little dab of grease in there to make sure that the edges would stay sharp and fresh, so in the humidity or if it gets wet, they don't start corroding. The back side, I've taped down a spare number 11 Exacto blade, and I'll get to that in a second. But that's 3 spare blades for the 3 tools I'm now carrying that can use replaceable blades, and that rides there underneath, safe, secure, and completely out of the way. I riveted on a small Kydex lip that I formed to keep that strap stiff and held in place, out of the way, but super easy to use. There's a small extended lip off the side of it, and that's helping secure the last tool that I've added. I had this space between the sheath and this side plier kit, and I wanted to put something there, but I didn't want to just stick anything. I try to keep everything I include, I try to make it useful, and I finally came up with the idea of carrying an Exacto knife. These little number 11 blades are super useful. Little Kydex sheath that I put together to keep the tip covered. Cut about 1.5 inches, 2 inches off the bottom. I've drilled that out and installed a small neodymium magnet in the butt end there. Cover this before I stab myself. This is some epoxy putty that I've formed and attached to the bottom to create a base. There's a matching neodymium magnet set into the side of the sheath there, and that way those 2 magnets lock in together. And then at the top, I've got this Kydex arm that comes around to support the pliers sheath on this side. I've got a small crescent shaped divot that I've rounded out there that matches against the side of the Kydex, the Exacto knife. And then there's also a matching, there's a second neodymium magnet placed against the side there that locks in against the side of the blade. That's why this sheath doesn't extend all the way down. So it locks in down there, and then just a little pressure, opening it up, pops back in. We're locked in by the Codex and by the magnet. That whole Exacto knife weighs less than an ounce, so with its light weight, it's not coming out under any circumstances. Just in case it does get jarred or slammed, when this is closed, that lip helps completely block in the bottom, and then when the sheath is closed there, it's completely secured. So that's the extent of the modifications or the additions I've made to the tool pouch kit. I've done a couple videos in the past on this already explaining the other features. If you want to watch those videos, I break down the rest of the tools that are included in this kit, explain everything thoroughly. These are just some final additions I've made to it. So hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching.